When I was 19 years old, I got a call from my mom saying that we were going on a family vacation to Hawaii. I said, let's go. First day that we were there, my dad and I decided to go snorkeling. And as we are out in the water looking at all the amazing fish, there was nowhere else in the world that I wanted to be than with my dad in that moment. As we were snorkeling, we kept going further and further out, and we ended up in an area that I now know is called Witch's Brew, which is known for its treacherous waters. And as we entered into Witch's Brew, I realized I didn't really know where my dad was. And so I picked my head up out of the water and I started scanning the water looking for him. And then I saw him through the waves, and I could tell that my dad was not doing well. He was still treading water, but he yelled out for help. And my dad had this big, deep, booming voice, but this yell for help was more like a soft whimper. And so I knew I had to get to him as quickly as I could. And so I swam to him. And by the time I reached my dad was underneath the water and he was unconscious, just floating there. And so I knew that I had to get my dad to shore as quickly as I could. And I put my arms around my dad and, to the best of my ability, tried to hold his head above water and swim with him to the shore. Luckily, a nearby snorkeler showed up and some of the lifeguards, and they helped get my dad to shore where they started doing CPR. And as they were doing CPR, I was just on my hands and knees next to my dad, just really crying out to God, would you please save my dad's life? And I really thought that at any moment my dad was going to come to, and that it was going to be like the movies and the water was going to come out of his mouth and his eyes were going to flicker open, but it never happened. And my dad drowned that day. It had just gone from one of the best days of my life to the worst days of my life in a matter of minutes. And I just remember asking myself, what happened? And what are we about to do without my dad? How am I going to make it without my dad? So then it was a few hours later that we were back in the condo, and I was sitting on the edge of the bed in the back bedroom, and my mom appeared in the doorway. And she said that she was going through my dad's briefcase and she found something that she knew he was going to give me on this trip. I had no idea what it was, but she had some papers in her hand and she walked across the room and handed it to me. At the top, it said, "Dear Blake, Natalie, and Marcus," my sister and brother's name. It was a letter. Apparently, my dad had been working on this letter for 2 or 3 months, having no idea that he was about to die, having no idea that this was going to be his final words to me. And as I began to read this letter, my dad shared some advice with us, shared how he felt about us. It was everything that I needed in that moment. Don't tell me that my dad did not love me. My dad's letter provided hope that I was going to make it. So then as I graduated college and started my career and then got married and then started having kids, there was my dad's letter, still guiding me, still influencing me. But then it was a few years ago that I went to write a letter to my children. If anyone knows the value of a letter from their dad, it's me. And so as I began to work on this letter and I was staring at a blank sheet of paper, I didn't know what to write. I couldn't get my thoughts and feelings organized around it. And it took me a long time to write this letter. It just kind of hung over my head until I got it done. But I knew I had to finish. Number one, I don't know when my last day on the planet's going to be. I got to have something written down for my children. Number two, I see the world that they're growing up in and the forces that are coming against them and really competing with me to get my words and my influence in their life. And so I want to have this letter finished to be very clear about how I feel about them, what our family values are. And so I finished this letter and it felt amazing to get this letter done. It was really a milestone moment in my fatherhood journey. And so that's when the mission to help 1 million dads write at least one well-written, meaningful, lasting legacy letter to their children started. We've now since included moms in the mission as well. But I knew that parents were going to be like me, staring at that blank sheet of paper. And so I really wanted to create a process to help simplify writing the letter, but also, if we're going to write this letter, let's put the most powerful things in the letter that everyone wants to hear from their mom and dad. So as we completed the program, moms and dads from all over the country started signing up to help write their legacy letter.
This whole exercise has truly come full circle in making me realize what an amazing thing this is going to be that I'm going to leave for my kid.
It's a necessity. Right? It's just a necessity to do for everybody involved, for you to grow, for you to see, for your kids to know.
It's been impactful, I think, for the entire family. So thanks. This experience has been incredible. almost choked up a little bit. I mean, I just didn't even describe anything other than just kind of what it was. And she said, you know, I think I would just like cut off my right arm right now if I could have a letter like that from my dad.
I'm writing this letter because I always wish my parents or grandparents would have written one for me.
Hearing your story with your dad, I realized my life could be over in an instant. And I just couldn't live another day without knowing that if something were to happen to me, my kids were going to be okay.
I got to have a conversation with him that was from what I just put on paper, because the feelings were fresh for me. And it was just a very special time and really cool. I mean, really cool opportunity for us.
I love helping dads and moms write this letter. I love giving them the experience of writing this letter, but I also love seeing them connect with their children in a new and deeper way. I would love for you to be a part of this amazing mission.